Now you've
It has
got
been a
Dr.
game changer.
Oz and CMS saying, we're doing our own investigation. We're not trusting Jacob Frey or anybody else sitting in Minneapolis to tell us what's real about the extent of this fraud. We're taking this bull by the horns and figuring it out ourselves. And we're just going to shut shit down. Like, if you think you're going to just take advantage of Medicare and Medicaid and we're just going to let you do it, think again.
And the New York Times, which then did a Somali story, a Minnesota fraud story, but of course they forgot to tell us that they were actually pushing the governor of that state for vice president of the freaking United States a year ago.
Yes.
Please.
Why? You tell me how it is that none of that was vetted, right? Like, they're taking deep dives into J.D. Vance's background, making up lies about him when he was Trump's running mate. But we didn't know that Tim Walz, Kamala Harris's running mate, had maybe $8 billion worth of fraud. And by the way, there were criminal prosecutions going on. So it's not like it was that hard for them to figure out. They didn't want to do it because it would hurt him and because they can't talk about crime committed by Somalis.
Listen, all aspiring investigative journalists in America who, can get a car and have low needs and can live on a little bit of money, get in that car and go to Minnesota right now and live there for 2 years. I'm not kidding. You are going to find a bottomless, connected tunnel system to the rest of American political chicanery, fraud, and corruption. It starts there. Or at least it surfaces there. And from their portal, you can get to all the other ones. Keith Ellison, Tim Walz, Ilhan Omar, the entire top line of that Minnesota Democratic Party, which they call the DFL there. This is a state where just a few months ago, a man in a rubber mask assassinated the former House Majority Leader at her home. This is a bad place.
Yep.
And this was the state where our future Democratic national leadership was going to come from, in the form of Tim Walz, in the form of Keith Ellison, who's got national party ambitions and so on. You can't get.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Now he's on tape with some of these Somalis talking about the whole Minnesota game, and seems to be very willing to run cover for them. He denies he knew that it was fraudulent, but seems to be very interested in how he can get heat off of them, not whether this is a legitimate group doing legitimate things with the Medicare and other public services funds.
Let me tell your audience as a fact, Minnesota as it exists now politically, in terms of the people and celebrities and celebrity Congress people and so on that are on our TV all the time, is about to face a meteor that's going to destroy it all. Those people are not going to be, some of them won't want to even be in America in a year or two. Really, I promise you. It's so bad.
Why? What do you mean?
Well, the corruption is so bad. The levels of financial malfeasance are so high. Not only was there not vetting, but there was opposite vetting. I'm not letting you into this government before you prove you're more corrupt than me. You have to be at least as corrupt as me if you want to be part of this thing, okay?
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'll sell each other out.
Sounds democratic.
The damn thing is a criminal gang, which is just the right size. It's big enough to get people's attention, but it's small enough for people to still see it in a snow globe, how it really works. See, Washington's too freaking big a corrupt enterprise for us to even see one tiny part of it, But this Minnesota thing will allow us to sort of watch in almost a stadium version how our politics works and how our people lie and how the money gets sucked up and how it gets redistributed. And it's not going to stop.
Let me just give some numbers to what you're saying, because they back you up totally. The housing program in Minnesota was supposed to cost $2.6 million annually.
To do what?
Last year, instead, yeah, right, to do what? Who knows? It paid out over $100 million. So they said this is going to be a $2.6 million, outlay by government to help Somalis, I guess, get housing. Instead, it was $100 million. The autism program was supposed to be 3 million. It was around 3 million in 2018. It ballooned to nearly 400 million by 2023. 400, which is why you have state lawmakers now in Minnesota going on YouTube saying the Democrats knew. We have been jumping up and down about this as Republicans for years, saying this is fraud. We knew they knew. He said at a minimum they looked the other way, but it was such huge numbers. It was clear to us it was active fraud with which they were willingly participating. Nothing else would explain their unwillingness to crack down on a system that was supposed to cost $2.5 million and cost $100, or supposed to cost around $3 million to help kids with autism, but suddenly was $400 million.
And that's just a couple of programs. This isn't fraud. Listen, fraud is when you steal like a tenth of what there is and secretly embezzle it and use it for something else. Fraud isn't when the thing grows by a multiple of 400 and every bit of it is corrupt. That's industry. That's a form of industry. And this is their industry. They don't make computer chips. They don't make car stereos. They don't make, wonderful, wholesome cheeses fresh from the farm. They make giant checks out of nothing that they distribute to people for hundreds of millions, for billions of dollars, so much so that there's extra to go abroad. This is their product. It's their main product. Fraud is their main product. And it's not fraud because everybody knows what it is, right? Who are they fooling? Wait, you really thought that autism was getting cured in Minnesota? They fooled you? No. Nobody who ever saw that program went anything but, oh no, I hope they don't take too much. I mean, I hope maybe one kid accidentally gets help sometime in the next century, but I doubt it.
Right, exactly, accidentally.
Ever read the label on a typical bag of chips? It's often a science experiment of seed oils, MSG, artificial dyes, and mystery ingredients. Masa is part of the growing movement to bring back real food. Masa chips contain just 3 ingredients: organic corn, sea salt, and 100% grass-fed beef tallow. Not only do these chips avoid the bad stuff, they also taste delicious too. Snacking on Masa chips is nothing like eating regular chips. With Masa, you feel satisfied, light, and energetic with no crash and no bloat. And if you love Masa, then you will love Vandy Crisps. Vandy, which is Masa's sister company, makes the most delicious 3-ingredient potato chips too. Ready to give Masa or Vandy a try? Use code MK for 25% off your first order at masachips.com or vandycrisps.com, or simply click the link in the video description or scan the QR code to claim this delicious offer. Don't feel like ordering online? Masa and Vandy are now available nationwide at your local Sprouts supermarket. Stop by and pick a couple of bags up before they're all gone.
By the way, Rich McHugh, who works for News Nation, great reporter. I used to work with him at NBC. Great producer who quit NBC in disgust over their cover-up of the Harvey Weinstein serial rapes. Good man. He has 5 daughters. He walked out saying, F you. You had the story. You killed it. You know why. I'm out of here. Good man. Works for News Nation now. He just dropped a report on how a similar problem is happening in Maine. The headline of his piece that just hit today is Maine whistleblower alleges Minnesota-like fraud in the state Medicaid program. I'm going to bring you some highlights of this in just a bit, but I want to stay on Minnesota for now. If this thing leads to a cascading revelations, Walter, and it's going to be blue state after blue state. And by the way, the next target needs to be the bullshit disability claims that people file, which sometimes are legit and oftentimes are totally fucking made up, where they get a huge portion of their salary forever on the taxpayer dime because they find some doctor to say they're permanently disabled. Okay, but if that leads to a cascading reveal in state after state, it's going to be blue states in particular, then great, so much the better. Think of all the money we're going to save.
Well, will we is the question. I mean, let's hope we save it. Let's hope places like Minnesota even have, see, when you've got a completely corrupt political system, and I don't like to use the word corrupt anymore because that suggests that it was healthy at one point and then got unhealthy. No, this system does exactly what it's meant to do. It extracts wealth from working people, from, real efforts and enterprises. It takes it, it repackages it using various, laudable goals. Autism, they might have a list. Can this one be on autism, disability, whatever? We need, a label. So whatever they put on it that, tugs heartstrings, then they come up with a product, which is autism centers, or, I don't know, a center you can call, or a board, or whatever. All the money gets
housing
gets
for
pushed
Somalis
through the system. It all ends up back in either the accounts of the politicians themselves, their families, all the fake companies they set up to support their campaigns, all the fake NGOs they set up to support their issues, or it just goes right out the door on planes in the packages of 1 million sealed, bills, shrink wrapped, to the airport in Somalia, where they unload it, and bring it over and buy tanks at the docks from Russia or whatever. Once that has all happened, do they have a instrument for getting it back? Do they have a way to go find all that money? Maybe the government does. Shit, it's got enough problems getting rid of the people who shouldn't be here. Now it's going to have to search for all the money in Minnesota in half the bank accounts of the political parties of Minnesota. This could take a long time.
Well, here's the thing. Maybe we'll get lucky enough that the next big fraud will be unearthed in a city that's recently changed out its far left mayor to somebody more reasonable. Because part of the problem in Minneapolis is Jacob Frey, who is a crazy, insane, woke progressive who was too chicken shit of the Somali community to actually do anything about this problem. I mean, the New York Times, that's not Megyn Kelly, the New York Times is reporting that the Democratic officials in Minnesota and Minneapolis were too afraid of cracking down on Somalis and looking like racists, because you're not allowed to say black people can ever do anything bad, to do anything about it. They'd rather see the population get fleeced, black, white, and otherwise. So here's Jacob Frey, an example of it. Just watch this. He's trying to make the point that his city police in Minneapolis are not going to cooperate with ICE. What a shock. But check out when he starts speaking at the end in Somalian, which is their main language in Somalia. Arabic is second. Take a listen to this guy.
I want our police officers keeping people safe. I want our police officers responding to violent crime. I want our police officers preventing homicides and carjackings and shootings from occurring in the first place. You know what I don't want them doing? I don't want our police officers spending a single second hunting the father down that just dropped his kids off at daycare, who's about to go and work a 12-hour shift, who happens to be from Mogadishu, or who happens to be from Ecuador. That man makes our city a better place. And so, to our Somali community, Daman Shabka, Somalied Kunul, Minnesota, Garahan, Minneapolis, Waan, Kuji Janila Hai, Waan, Ku Gereb Taganahan.
You are fucking in America. Speak English. And if your Somali constituents cannot understand English, you and they are hashtag part of the problem. The absurd pandering going on here, Walter, is literally at the very heart of this problem.
Well, so he's an actor. He's, like Justin Trudeau, or one of these people with a lot of hair product, who I call them the Mickey Klaus Club, the WEF approved young leaders who have to put their hair a certain way and, speak in foreign languages and stand up to ICE and do all of these other things. First of all, his police force doesn't stop crime. His police force is bleeding, is dying. It is desperately trying to get new recruits and can't get them, is hundreds down. So your police force, ICE doesn't care about it because nobody cares about it. No shoplifters don't care about it. Nobody does. It's a non-entity. Number two, the idea that you are going to stand up for a group of people who right now should be in the dock, okay, at their worst hour. And I don't blame the Somalis all that much. See, Somalis didn't come to America by themselves. They were brought here from a long way away, very expensively, by social services like Lutheran Social Services, which I happen to know is in Minnesota, runs that kind of operation there. And then they were put into districts which made safe seats for certain candidates. And they were plugged into the Democratic Farmer Labor Party in Minnesota, the Democratic Party nationally. Not that they are innocent victims, but somebody knew the usefulness of these people in order to get this whole show on the road. They didn't start it. They aren't geniuses who somehow smuggled themselves into America and came up with this whole scheme. And they're patsies, willing patsies who've made a lot of money off it and now want respect. Like all gangs of crooks, once you've got your headquarters and your fancy cars and you're eating at the nice places, then you want respect. You want the politicians to come to you. And that's what we've created here. And they have every right to act like a gang because they were made into one by their patrons. Yeah. And he should be afraid of them.
Exactly right.
He should be afraid of them. Maybe that guy who was standing behind him, sort of like tracking his pronunciation of Somali to see how good it was, had a gun under his coat. Jacob, you're going to have to talk more Somali. You're going to have to rehearse better, or else we're not going to need you around here anymore.
Walter, did you see the video of Jacob Frey eating Somali food? He honestly, it looks like he just swallowed a plate full of vomit. Look, he doesn't want to like swallow it. It's in his mouth. Oh, he's giving you the okay symbol. But there he goes, chewing and chewing and chewing. I mean, generally when you eat, you actually swallow. He's just moving the spoon around. Yeah, no additional food is actually brought to his lips.
That's how I eat salads. I move all the parts of the salad around, and then I put my fork down.
Right.
Also,
pander is complete.
He looks like he's eating an anthill. What's that giant pile of things that are in front of him? Is he supposed to work his way through that? Is this just a tasting? But again, he doesn't look like
he's so willing to self-flagellate, right? Like he'll put himself through that, right. But he won't put himself through accusations of racism, baseless though they'd be, for cracking down on fraudsters who happen to be Somali.
You know what happens when you enter criminal enterprise? You become the hostage of the worst people in it. You might have been Jacob Frey, good boy, leftist, college kid who just wanted to make the world a little more just. But once you dance with the people you've danced with, Jacob, for the money you have, you live in a state where people in rubber masks come and kill politicians in the middle of the night. I'm sure that's not lost on you. Minnesota, like I say, we need to focus on it relentlessly because it's got an example of everything we need to know, and it's got tunnels that lead to every place we need to get, and it's got associations with every crook and gangster who's on the national scene. They just tried to slip this baby past us. Like I say, Tim Walz could be president right now, easily. We could have had, they got elected. Kamala decided it was time to finally go to rehab. And, the Constitution kicked in and Tim Walz is freaking president.
Yeah. Allegedly, reportedly. Actually, no, it's not even being reported. It's just a joke. I wanted to show this. So there's Jacob Frey eating his Somali food. Here's just a taste of how woke this guy is. This is back in June of 2020, immediately past George Floyd, when protests were everywhere, including in Minneapolis. And here's what happened. Watch this. He wouldn't commit to abolishing the police. Right after George Floyd, when we needed them the most, he wouldn't commit to abolishing them. And that's what his community did to him. So he learned real good, and he is living the lessons.
More theater. He knew he wasn't going to be attacked in that. That was a walk of shame. That was a ritual.
Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.